Quick little sound check. Quick sound check. Hey, everybody. Hearing me? Wait. I got to make sure chat is enabled. Chat's enabled. Yes, it is because you're already chatting. Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Perfect. Hey, Ken. Hope everybody's looking forward to some more Silvio information. I know I'm learning. Looking forward to his CSS course, I'll tell you that. I am looking forward to that course when he starts teaching that. Lucky me, I have him as a business partner, so I don't have to pay for the course, but I did that before university. So I actually went to with Chad, one of the people who's been with me for a while, and so I was like, Chad, let's get better. And I'm that type of person anyway. I believe in trying to get a little bit better each and every day. And so I said, let's go to our local community college. Moby First will pay for it. It's community college, it's not that expensive anyway. However, we went to the school, went in, sitting in the classroom, ready to learn the base. It was basically building a website. So learn how to build a website, and then as you went through the lessons into the following years, obviously they're teaching you how to build a website. All right, so I'm sitting in there, and I think me and Chad, oh gosh, I don't know how many classes we made it through. And then Chad's like, he's just going to show up every single time anyway. But I like to, be smart, if you will. So by the time I realized what we're learning from day one to what I'm going to learn at the end of year one, and then year two, it's absolutely pointless because my platform already knows it for me. I don't need to know all the stuff he's going through. I'm like, this is pointless. I'm wasting my absolute time. I'm wasting Chad's time because I would be that much further ahead if I just went on my platform today and played around with it. I'm going to be smarter than anybody that's in this class. So I said, Chad, enough's enough out of that. Now imagine having the instructor coming to me and going, let me teach you one-on-one. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. And then on my Moby First platform. So, all right. So we've been joining us soon. About the food ordering widget, will he be able to answer in this session, or do I submit it for next time? Well, we're not going over, Ken, great question. We're not going to go over the food ordering widget this time. If you want to, you could either submit a ticket or you could submit me an email. And then I actually forward that email to Silvio, and I think even last time Silvio just went right over that email. So, hey, Steve, what is your question though, Ken, about the food ordering widget? And we will be bringing that. Well, the product's always been out, but we're going to be revamping a lot of the stuff that we already have and making it even better. Yeah, Ken, listen, I might be able to. It might be something that I can actually answer for you while we wait for Silvio. And the food ordering widget is not. Well, there's a lot of people using it. Let's just put it out there. I mean, we have so many users of the platform. It's impossible to know how everybody's using it. But that food ordering, I mean, that's a gold mine. That is an absolute gold mine. Food ordering. I'm reading your question. Is there any way to update the menu items in the food ordering widget without having to log into the system? And no, there is not. No, there's not. You actually have to do that manually. No, you'd have to actually go in and you'd have to update it. The food ordering. It's kind of the whole point of it, but it could be something there for AI into the future, if you will. There, Ken. Hello, Silvio.
Hi there. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah. Ken
I,
actually had a quick question before we get things started. And Ken, the question to you is about the food ordering. Uh, excuse me. Ken's question is there any way to update the menu items in the food ordering widget without having to log into the system and do it manually? The widget tutorial mentioned updating using RSS feed, but there is no explanation on how to do that.
Okay, no, let's say that RSS is something else in a sense that RSS is a way for you to syndicate, or better, to get content from other sources and embed them into your website. The only way you have to update content on your website is to log in on the platform in a sense that that ensures that you are logged in as the correct person as the owner. I mean, there are a whole set of reasons why the system needs to work that way, right? In a sense that I mean allowing somebody to edit a site from outside the system means creating another system basically, because you need to validate that person, right? You need to ask for an email and a email address and password, or user ID and password. So you have to do authentication and authorization in a sense that you have to check that that person is actually allowed to edit that specific thing. So I think that what you are, no, I wouldn't, I would say that there must be a way always to log in into some sort of editor, right? So you might just do it on the platform. Since you mentioned RSS, maybe you are referring to something else, which is, let's say, update your system through an external API, right? Or better, you like populate your list of products in one system. Let's say, the POS system, for example, that you have in your restaurant, or I don't know, some other things. Like the inventory management tool or something like that, and then you somehow export that data into your website, right? So you update it once, you update it somewhere, and then it gets updated everywhere, right? So that's a different thing. It's not really that you don't log in on the system, it's that you use what are called APIs, right? So the APIs are systems that allow, let's say, computers or automated system to talk with each other without passing through a human being, let's say, right? In that case, then there are some, let's say, standard APIs. And if you remember, when we talked about the blog widget, we mentioned that we integrate and we, adopt the standard WordPress APIs, in a sense that what that means is that you can populate, you can post to your blog, so you can send articles and posts to your blog by using a standard API, the same API that WordPress does, right? So that system is actually already in place. If you want to do it for, let's say, e-commerce, because food ordering, after all, is just let's say, another layer on top of e-commerce. We don't allow it at the moment, in a sense that what you can do is you can do CSV uploads, that kind of stuff. Yeah, Mark, we are talking exactly about that, in a sense that our e-commerce system allows you to upload your products via CSV, which is different than which is still another way separated from APIs, in a sense that APIs they talk with each other, right? The two systems, so the Mobi First system and whatever other system talks with the Mobi First system. When you upload via CSV, basically you just do it. You populate your list of products faster, because you don't have to do it manually for each product, but you just upload correctly formatted CSV file, and that already populates and adds products to your food ordering or e-commerce backend. By the way, and we were talking about this with Scotty just right before the webinar started. We have so many things to talk about. We still have so many things to talk about. The first of all being e-commerce, that I think we will never run out of topics for our webinars, right? And we also release new widgets and new features pretty constantly. And by the way, if you stick to the end, I'm gonna show you a very early preview, by the way, on my local machine. So that's, I mean, absolutely a primer of a new widget that we are developing in conjunction and with the help of Diego here from Italy. So we are developing a new widget, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what we have been working on right before the end of the webinar. Remind me of this in case I get, as usual, carried away and keep talking about stuff. So, thank you for all the questions so far. Again, keep them coming, as we always say. Keep them coming, even while I'm presenting, while I'm talking about other stuff. And as we said, today we are going to talk about the forms and then the integrations, right, that we have in forms, which are somehow related to APIs, if you think about it, and the booking widget. Okay, so these are, let's call them lead generation um, widgets. Okay, that will allow you to, in the case of the booking widget, to actually, allow users to actually do something concrete, which is book like an appointment or something like that. Forms are very flexible. And because of that, I think they need a little bit of explanation of what they do and how they work. So if we don't have any additional, let's say, initial question or initial consideration here, I will proceed and start sharing my screen. Scotty.
Yeah, good to go.
Okay, very good. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. And as usual, okay, I guess it's already sharing, right? Scotty, can you confirm?
Yes, it is.
All right, very well. So let's start with the forms. All right, as you have noticed, so let's delete this one. As you have noticed, we have two main forms, right? We have what we call the form contact, right? Which basically allows you to create a ready-made and a preset form with some contact details and data, right? So this is pretty useful and pretty quick to use because basically you specify some contact details. So, for example, you would add your email address, for example, email@company.com, and then you write a small, if you want to label or help text for this, write as an email, right? And then you add it to the form, right? To this, let's say I call it form. In this case, it's like a complete widget where you and then you can add more fields, like, I don't know, an address. Yes. Italy, right? Can say yes. All right, then you add the address. Okay, and as you see, this generates, let's say, these two sections right here. So the part where you add the contact details and data. And as you notice, by the way, if you add an address, it becomes clickable, and you can click on it and it opens Google Maps. All right, on it. And now let's see it on desktop. So you will see that by default, this system generates on the left column the part with the let's say details here, with the contact details and data. And then if you actually enable, right, show also the contact form, let's say a ready-made preset form where you ask the name, the email address, the phone number, and the message. Again, you don't have control over these fields, but that's because this is a very quick way to generate a quick contact us, and let's say these are our info section on your website. While since this is a relatively simpler setup, we can see some stuff here about the form, general stuff about the form. So, for example, this is, let's say, relatively normal, but this is some text that will be shown above the form. So you can add some text also with style. So let's say a bold or something like that, right? So you can add some text to be shown above the form here. So you could have you could give some instructions or some, some additional information or something like that. Then again, let's talk about these fields here, which are typical and present in every form. So let's talk about them here now, and then we'll see them in the actual free form. Let's say, when you generate a form, the most common thing that you do is that you want to collect the data that the user enters and send it to an email address, right? So what you can do is just send your specify the email address here where the data collected in the form will be sent. And you can specify more than one email by just separating it. First dots here, by just separating it with commas, right? So you can add more than one email, and each one of these will receive the actual data from the form. You can then specify the sender email address. This is especially useful when you are creating a website for a client, obviously, and you don't want the email, let's say, to the email that is sent from the form to come from a MobiFirst email address. It won't come from a MobiFirst email address. It will come from like an email address like Core3 or whatever. But still, you can specify the email address that you want the email to be sent from, right? What is really important though, and then in order to make this work, you need to go in the email transport section of the website, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But anyway, you need to validate this sender email address, right? So if you use SendGrid, for example, you need to validate and add it to the sender identity section. If you use Gmail as outgoing SMTP server, that email address needs to be validated, needs to be a valid email address that you can use on Gmail, and so on, right? So we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but just want to make sure that I mentioned that you can specify the sender email address, so the email address from which the form data will appear to come, but you need to validate it, right? It needs to be valid, right? This is a relatively interesting feature, right? Because you can post, right, this data, and that is true for every form. And now, again, we're talking about a free form, but this is true for every form. You can post it to anywhere, to a URL on the web, right? So what that means is that you can specify a URL here that will receive in post format, right? That's let's say standard format used on the web, the data that will be, the data as filled in by the user. So what you could do, this is, let's say, a very simple form of API integration, right? Because you could add your own endpoint here, so a PHP script or whatever that will receive this data and do whatever you want with it. Add it to a database, process it and send it over, or anything that you want to do. Okay, so that is pretty useful if you know how to use it, and it's pretty simple. Again, you just enter the URL of the what is called an endpoint, right? So the script where the data will be posted, right? So then you read the input on in that endpoint, and then you process it and do whatever you want with it on that end. Then finally, in this section, you can enable reCAPTCHA, right? So if you get spam submissions and all that kind of stuff, you can enable it, and it's just a matter of clicking on, right? I mean, to setting it to on. That's all you have to do. the system takes care of everything. You see, it automatically adds the reCAPTCHA thing and does everything that needs to be done. So you don't really have to do anything to enable. You don't have to get any API keys or anything else. We do, as usual, we do all the heavy lifting for you, right? Okay, so let me jump to questions. Okay, no, we don't have any questions so far. Again, as usual, interrupt me, ask me anything, and feel free to ask questions about anything I'm talking. If it's something I'm talking about, or something else about the platform that comes to mind, or anything else. A very nice feature, I think, that we have in every form. So the form contact, the one that we are using at the moment, and the free form is what we call an autoresponder, right? So basically, what you can do when you enable it, and here it tells everything you need to know. But anyway, when you enable it, what this does, it basically sends an email to the user that filled the form. All right. As you read here, though, the form needs to have at least one email address field. Otherwise, the system wouldn't know to what email to send the autoresponder form, right? To the autoresponder email, right? So again, if you have at least one email address in the form, in this case we have it because that's the default one, but when you create one on your own, you need to make sure that you have at least one email field, sorry. You can enable the autoresponder. Then in this case, you can set a subject, you can send a from address, an email address. Same thing applies to what we were saying before, and also a name in this case, right? So I would say, from Silvio Porcellana, CTO of MobiFirst, and then Silvio at mobifirst.co, right? And then here you enter the body of the email. Now, this is a normal, this is a, let's say, text area, right? But you can add some variables, for example, hello name, right? Okay, so variables are treated like this. And this variable right here will be replaced with the value that the user entered into the your name form field, right? And so you have the name, email, phone number, and the message. Obviously, these variables, these values, are related to the form, right? In this case, we have these fields. When we're going to see how to build a free form, we're going to see that the variables that you can use in your autoresponder depend on the fields that you add into your form. All right. Okay. So this obviously is a very effective way to get the user engaged, to get him to send him information. So, for example, you could do thank you for your inquiry. We will get back to you as soon as possible. Or better, thank you, Silvio, for your inquiry. We will get back to you as soon as possible. Here's the link to our latest blog post or something like that, right? So a way to engage the user so that he immediately sees that the let's say email that he sent is being treated, and let's say he's I mean actually engaged with the website that you have been building, so with your business or whatever. All right. Questions? Okay. Lyle, can you show the post form data posted to the URL? Well, actually, that's a pretty standard JSON object that is sent. So, Lyle, just do some tests to an endpoint, and you will see that the data is posted in JSON format. If these words don't make sense to you, then forget about this option. But if they do, that's, let's say, a pretty standard feature and a pretty standard format, let's say, for data to be exchanged between APIs and between websites. So can you demonstrate a form on a landing page that automatically sends users to a page to download ebooks, etc.? Jay, we're going to see that in the free form because you cannot do it in this form content. As I said, this is a very quick way to add a form and some information about a business or a company on a web page. The free form has a lot more flexibility, so we're gonna see. That later. Cindy, if you send data to an endpoint or to an email, can you still download the data to CSV download? CSV download? Yes, absolutely, Cindy. The two things are not separate, or better, sorry, they are separate in a sense that data is sent or posted to an email or to an endpoint, and at the same time, you can always download it in CSV format. Jody says autoresponder is good for adding PDF link to of lead magnet to for person complaining form. Exactly, exactly. So thank you for filling up your form. Here's our 10 pages ebook about renovating your house. Exactly. So you start engaging, you get the email. In the meantime, he reads the ebook, and then you reply and you start creating a relationship with the user. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Dawn, is the autoresponder inside Mobi First or set up to external platform? No, it's inside Mobi First. Just remember that we always suggest you using your own SMTP server because you control it better. It's reliability is a lot better, deliverability is a lot higher. Um, are a lot higher. So it is within the Mobi First platform, but again, we strongly suggest you use your own SMTP, which could also be your Gmail, right? All you have to do is generate an app password. We saw this in a previous webinar. Maybe we can touch upon it a little bit, but we talked about this. I mean, you can use Gmail, you can use SendGrid, GoDaddy, which is by basically Microsoft, or any other SMTP provider. Are the SSL certificate manual or automatically updated? I've been having difficulty with the CNAME record as the target requires and the end of it. This doesn't show in the reach. Could you talk in someday in order to enlighten us? Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Ansel. Ansel, well, the CNAME, the SSLs are usually, I've been having difficulty with the CNAME record as the target requires a dot at the end of it. Well, I don't know. I don't know what maintainer, what domain register you're using, and what DNS manager you're using. GoDaddy doesn't, for example, and I think you can. So I'm not sure I fully understand your question. So what I would ask you to do, because this I think it's a pretty specific question. I mean, creating a CNAME is really a matter of saying www points to m1.m or core3.m4k.co, something like that. So that really depends, I think, on your DNS manager. So I guess that's more a topic for a support question. So if you can open a support ticket about that, I'm gonna take a look at it and try to answer it
I'm wondering, Silvio, is that a third party that he's trying to install? Because he's saying cloud
no,
payment.
I don't think
No.
so. I think it's not really that's the issue. I think Cloudflare should be the dot app say TLD is relatively complex, but in theory that should work exactly, because I think we have other people that use Cloudflare for
Ansel
DNS.
answered for me. So I was just curious.
So I don't know. Again, let's talk about this in a support ticket. Al, when you enable reCAPTCHA in a language in Spanish, it says I'm not a robot in English, but the rest of the form is translated into Spanish. Could you please fix this as I'm not robot in Spanish? That's weird, because as you have seen, if I enable reCAPTCHA, it says non so, it uses Italian. So I think it actually picks up the language from the browser, right? So I'm not sure it is possible to actually force a language on it, in a sense that I have the feeling that it will always try to pick up the language from the browser. But I'll check it. I'll check it more, and I'll let you know if it's something that we can control. All right. All right, let's proceed then. And so let's delete this widget now and let's add a free form, right? Which has a lot more flexibility. Okay. So the form free, here we have. As you see, we already have this button at the top, which allows us to download in CSV format all of the data that we have collected. The main difference is that you manage the form fields, right? In this case. So you can create basically your own form with all the flexibility that you want, right? So let's start by adding a field. So we add a label. So this is, for example, what is, well, um, name, okay? Please enter your name. Then even add a placeholder. Then we can we can tell the system if it's mandatory or not. Yes. And then we have a all range of field types that we can use for this field, right? So for example, in this case, which is pretty simple, it's a text field, right? So click here and we have saved, right? So the form now have this, as you see, it has the label, then it has the placeholder that we added, and then it has the helps, let's say, text that we enter, right? So we can keep doing this for as many your email address. Okay, then here we has please enter valid email, info at email.com as a placeholder. Yes, it's mandatory. And then this is an email field. Now it's important. I know an email field could also be a text field if you think about it, right? But it's important to choose the email field because this will allow the system and browsers to actually validate your input, validate the user input before submitting the form, right? So if we put, for example, Silvio here, this is not a valid email, and you see that the browser will automatically say to the user, enter a valid email. This doesn't look like a valid email. I guess then we can check a few other field types. So we have the text area, right? This is usually very effective for comments, right? Mhm. All right. This obviously doesn't have a placeholder, and it doesn't have a usually does we don't make it mandatory, right? So you see that when these two fields are mandatory, right? So when we click on send form, these two are highlight. This is not, because this one is not mandatory, right? Then we have a bunch of other field types. For example, yes, we can create a select, right? In this case, I don't know. Well, no, not go the gender route because that's complex. Soccer team, right? Right. Um, Pick from the list. All right. So let me add some. Okay, the way the select works is that you then add the options one per row in this field right here, right? So for example, you will say Juventus, sorry, these are Italian. All right, okay. So you do this, right? And so you have here now the drop down. Okay, you can have a multiple select, right? So for example, you could have favorite foods. Oops, foods. Okay, so you could have pizza, pasta, meat, steak, uh, cake. Okay. All right. So in this case, you would have, you see, multiple choice. So you can have pizza and steak. All right. And then here, just one. Okay. No, let's not do that. Okay. Then we have a select numbers, right? So for example, your age. Okay, so starts at, I don't know, 0, ends at 99, and then you can select the step too, right? So this will generate a list automatically, right? Your age from 1 to 99, and you can control the step 2. As you see, we are creating our little form bit by bit as we want. And don't forget, obviously, that you can change the order of your of the fields, right? So now we can go we can use the checkbox. Yes. Do you like this? All right. And this is, let's say, a yes or no, usually, right? Do you like this? Yes or no? Or then we can have, oh, okay, the file upload is the last one that we're going to do because that's pretty powerful, obviously. We can have a date, right? So, for example, a date of arrival, right? And we can choose, we can, let's say, force the system to show only future dates, right? Okay, so in this case, we would have the date of arrival, and you see that you have I mean, automatically the system generates a date picker, which, as you see, has past dates unavailable, right? So the 24th, for example. All right. Then we have oh yes, this is a nice one. Let's see if it still works. I'm not sure. How much do you like Silvio? Okay, this is a rating form field, right? So you have now on mobile it doesn't. Oh no, okay. I need to fix this because this used to have um, um, stars rating. So I need to go back and fix this because that was a pretty nifty. So in this case, you don't like Silvio very much, actually, since it hasn't been fixing this issue. All right. Well, then instead of the rating, then we have the gender, the country. Okay, the country. Where are you from? And this is pretty nice because it should actually generate, you see, automatically generate a list of countries, right? So you don't have to do it your own, and we usually keep it up to date anyway. I mean, it automatically generates it, right? So you don't have to create it on your own. Fine. Well, finally, then we have a field which is pretty interesting, which is the hidden field, right? And the thing is that with the hidden field, you can specify some values, right? What's the use of a hidden field if it's not shown? Okay, you see that it's not shown. It is true that it's not shown, but it is in the in the form. You see here. Check this out. Input type equal hidden name and then the value, right? So what is the use of this? This is, for example, this is useful because this data, right, that field will still appear in the data that you will download or in the email that you will receive, right? So, for example, if you have multiple forms, that is a way for you to identify one form, one page, or one specific form. So, from what form data is coming from, right? That data is coming from. So that's the use case for a hidden field, right? Another field, obviously, which is very powerful, is the file upload. Okay, upload an image, for example, right? And this is powerful on desktop, obviously, right? So you see here, you can just upload an image, and in reality, the image will be uploaded to our AWS S3 repositories, buckets, and then in the form, you will see a link to that upload. But this is even more powerful on mobile, right? Because, for example, you can tell the system, you can tell the user, or better, allow the user to take a picture and upload it right away and upload it immediately, right? So that is an extremely effective and extremely powerful field that you can have. So now, all this being said, we already talked about the captcha, and then you can manage, you can handle, you can decide how many columns you want on desktop. By default, the form is created like this, but you can say, no, I want 3 columns. All right. Okay. and you see that the form is automatically rearranged. Or you can say I want one column. The best way, usually the best way to present it on desktop. Obviously on mobile, it's one field after the other. The best way to present it on desktop is usually on two columns, right? We talked about the reCAPTCHA. We talked about the form data, right? So where to send it, from what email address to send the email, and then where to post it. Try out this one if you, I mean, again, put just an endpoint somewhere and try it, because it can be pretty useful and powerful, right? Then you can change on the form that we checked, that we did before. You could not change the value of the send form button text. Here you can, and send it now. You can change the value, you see, of the button that needs to be clicked to send the form, right? And then you can add a little explanation above the form, but don't forget that you can always add a title and a subtitle above the form, right? Okay. Then we have the autoresponder, all right? And as you see, you now have, as we said before, you now have all of the fields available in the form, right? So you can customize again your name, your email address, your comment, your soccer team, and blah blah blah, and that would be replaced in the form. Sorry, in the auto response, so in the email that will be sent to the user. And in this case, the autoresponder will work because we have one email field, right? Remember that in order for the autoresponder to work, you need to have at least one field which is marked as email. Otherwise, again, the system wouldn't know to what email to send the auto response. All right. Yeah, so that is pretty much a extremely flexible way to build your own forms, whatever you want to do. And then once users start, adding fields, so let's remove this one, which at the moment would just create confusion. So let's fill this form. Okay. This is, whoops, this is a comment. And then here, Silvio, Silvio at first.co, blah, blah, blah. Okay, your age, a lot, pizza and steak, date of arrival, and send it now. Okay, so the form have been sent. And obviously, in this case, we didn't specify any email address to be sent to, but it would have been sent to that email, the email address we specified. But at the same time, we also can download, you see, you can download it in CSV format. Now we're going to open it. Well, yeah, we opened it in on a text field just to show you the, let's say, raw, the raw uh, contents. But we can we can import it here, right, on a, for example, Google Drive spreadsheet. Upload, browse. Okay. All right. Yes, import. And as you see, right, as you see here, the first row is the fields, right? And then we have the other data here, right? So we have the name, the email address, the comment, the soccer team, the age, your favorite foods. You see they are, let's say, separated by a dash, then the date of arrival, and then we also have, you see, the hidden field. So this could be useful for actually allowing you to again customize and identify a specific form, a specific page, or something like that. All right. Questions. Thank thank you. Change the language of my brother that fixes Spanish. Al, very good. Don, thank you very much. Can all 50 states either be auto-populated in the country option? Does the can upload option work for bulk uploads? Um, Jay, well, I guess we can. I think the best way would be for us to add state, U.S. state field type, actually, to actually add that. So Jay, a separate field, let's say dedicated field type for the states. Vinod, can you do calculation on form fields before posting? No, sorry. At the moment, that's not what you can do. Again, what you can do, Vinod, is post it to endpoint, to a PHP or whatever, to an endpoint, receive that data, and then in that case, you can do all the calculations you want. Now, we are working on a ton of stuff at the moment, as you might imagine. But one of the things that we would like to do is integrate with Zapier. I don't know if you have ever heard of this tool. It's a tool that basically works as, let's say, a connector between various widgets. Sorry, various tools. We already used to have it. Actually, no, I think we already have it for the chatbots that we sell. Let's say for the chatbot system that we sell, and basically what that does is it takes the data from a form or from whatever, and then it sends it somewhere else. So, for example, one thing that we did in the past was a little mortgage rate calculator using on the chatbots. So basically, what you would do is the chatbot would ask you like the total loan amount, the years, and all that. Then it would collect the data, send it to Zapier. Zapier will then send it to a Google spreadsheet. The Google spreadsheet would do the calculation, and then it would send it back to Zapier, which will then send it back to our chatbot system, and then send it back to the user. Right. So that is something that could be done using Zapier. Again, it's not an immediate thing that we're going to do, but it's something that we have in the works, and I think that would make our forms even more and more powerful. Thank you, Omar. Is there Jody? Zapier integration will be great. Yes, I know, Ken. Yes. Is there a way to clear previous data history in CSV form that the moment the data history from form shows the whole history even after downloading? Yes, Jody, that's a very good point, actually. At the moment, yeah, you download all of the data. I guess what could be done is a way to clear up until or clear all data. Yes, so maybe we can. At the moment, what I think we can do is add a button which allows you to clear the history, let's say, so that you can start fresh. So you can start fresh. All right, so let's proceed. Are you still seeing my screen, Scotty? Are you guys still
Yes,
seeing?
yes, yes.
Yes.
Right. I just
Okay.
have to go up on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, yep,
all
yep.
right. All right.
Making it big
Perfect.
again.
So
Mhm.
let's briefly talk about integrations. At the moment, we have these two integrations. All right, Mailchimp and Get Response. All right. So basically, what this does is you need to for either Get Response or Mailchimp. And let's see if I still have an account on Mailchimp. Yes, I do. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Just a second. I hope to get the okay. All right. So when you go in MailChimp, which is a system to manage emails, right? So we create a new key, test webinar. All right. So copy to clipboard. All right. And then we paste it here. Once we have pasted it, you see it gives you the list of lists that you want to use. At the moment, I only have one list on MailChimp, right? But I would get the whole list of lists, because that's how they're called on MailChimp, right? So I would choose, for example, this one, right? Then you need to map the form fields, all right, to the actual list fields, right? So for example, now these are the fields on MailChimp, okay, which are taken from the list, right? So you would say the field email on this list on MailChimp, to what field on the form needs to be mapped? Your email address, obviously. Address, okay, I don't know. We don't have it. Okay, let's leave it. First name, name, let's leave that. And phone number, we don't have it. Okay, so now let's save. All right. So at this point, we have enabled this integration. Okay. All right. And we have enabled it here. Now, when somebody fills a form, his email address, this email, all right, all right, will be sent. You see that it took a little bit, will be automatically sent and added to the to that email, to that. Okay, already. Okay, so now let's go quickly on. You see, no, campaigns, public. Yeah, you see, one new contact, and that was added right now. Okay, with the source, which is the API key test webinar. So you see, I have completed a form here, and I've been added automatically to this list. Okay. All right. That is a very simple yet extremely effective integration. You can do the same thing with get response. And then let's say that we stopped a little bit adding integrations because we were busy doing a lot of other stuff. But if you have any suggestion or any additional integration that you want to use, that you want to see, again, the next step will be Zapier. But Zapier is a little bit more complex in development and also in actually the integration, but you have seen how easy it is. You just copy the MailChimp API key, then you select the list that you want to use, what is called the audience, I think, that you want to use. Then you map your list, the MailChimp list fields to the actual form fields, and that's it. From now on, everybody that will fill this form will actually be added to the MailChimp list too. And then on MailChimp, obviously, you can use all of the automations and all of the things that you want to use there. Same thing with get response. All right? Questions? Yeah, a Weber. Chris, please submit a request there. Yeah, let's. It was in the works, but yeah. So Omar, yes, absolutely. No, we know if you get a second submission with the same email address, no, you don't get another. You don't get another. You don't get two entries. Mailchimp is smart enough to not duplicate the email address, especially since it comes from the same source, let's say from the same API key. Bear in mind that if obviously you can have two separate lists, then in that case, two forms with two separate lists, then in that case, obviously it will work. It will work automatically. Okay. What other autoresponders? Omar, and Chris, they asked for Aweber. So that could be a good one. Again, please send a request through a support ticket so it doesn't get lost. But yes, that's another one. Any suggestion? Obviously, it cannot be, my little my little mailing system. I mean, it needs to be something pretty common. And again, Zapier should also solve all of these issues. The big problem with Zapier, and I think Al is, I mean, right on that. Zapier is pretty expensive, so he says he uses Connects IT. I know there is another one which I don't remember actually its name, but I can remember that was an alternative to Zapier. So yeah, I mean that could be an alternative. Yes, Chris. Okay, yeah, we'll try to work on a Weber as soon as possible. If this then that, that's another one. But there was another one actually which worked very similarly to Zapier. It was a lot cheaper because Zapier is at least the last time I checked is crazy expensive. SendGrid, yes, we could use SendGrid too, even if, yeah, it's also a marketing system. I think the next one that I can, let's say, promise, not maybe tomorrow, but in the next few weeks, is a Weber. Integromat, there you go. Yes, yes, nice call. Yes, Ken, exactly. It was called Integromat. Exactly. Lyle, I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Possible to integrate online orders to MailChimp or get response. I don't know what you mean or whether you're referring to when you are mentioning online orders. I don't know if that's something related to e-commerce or something like that. So I'm not sure I can help you. The name and email. Um, the name any no, I still don't understand it, sorry. Vinod, using autoresponder code where any autoresponder can be integrated. Okay, if I understand it correctly, you can use MailChimp or a Weber or GetResponse as an autoresponder, right? In a sense that you can automate like an email that is sent from the list once a new email address is added to that list. So you can skip Mobi first if you want to. You can skip Mobi first autoresponder and use Mailchimp to send a welcome email if that's what what the um, what um, what you were asking actually, Vinod. Entreport, never heard of that actually. I think again the next step could be a Weber, which is pretty common, so it makes sense actually to add it to the list of integrations that we have in our forms. Now we have 5 more minutes. So now, as usual, we're going to talk about the booking widget, I guess, in another time because it takes a little bit more than 5 minutes. I want to show you a new widget that we have been working on. It's not ready yet, so be very, again, patient, be very forgiving. It's something that we have been working on in the past few weeks. And I want to give a big shout out to Diego, which is doing a wonderful job here in Italy and which is also helping us in actually developing this widget. And it's relatively aptly called BNB in a sense that it allows you to, and as you see, it still has to be completely translated and everything. But basically, what it does, it allows you to manage and collect and have people pay for reservations for rooms, apartments. So it's basically a replacement for Airbnb and booking, right? Because as we have done with the food ordering that you will see in a next webinar, I think people, and again, this is an idea I wanted to share with you. I think the age of platforms like Airbnb, Uber, Just Eat, or Uber Eats, or whatever you use in your country, I think it's relatively over in a sense that they add a huge overhead and a huge additional cost to just to be on the platform, right? And that was good at the beginning, where you didn't really trust it, you didn't really have ways to actually get the system or even allow people to book, for example, to order food or to book a restaurant, to book a room or something like that. I think that if we give people the option to create their own system, right, for booking. And if we give you, who most likely are developers, right, are web marketers, so people who actually sell this to their customers, that's going to be a huge win. Because again, Airbnb takes like 30%, or it takes a huge chunk of money from the actual reservation. Same thing for all the food ordering systems. If a restaurant, or in this case, if an apartment owner can actually book and manage the booking on its own, he immediately gets 30% more, which means that he can have more profit, or he can sell it for less. So it's a win-win for everybody. So that is the reason why we are so happy to actually be developing something like this. And again, now you're seeing something very, very rough, but I want to show you basically the way it works. Is that, again, very simply, but it's extremely complex, trust me. Anyway, very, very simply, you basically specify, you see here the calendar, then you specify the maximum number of people that you have in your apartment, or in your, bed and breakfast or whatever. Then how you want to confirm, if you want to confirm by payment, or if it's a manual confirmation. Then how many days that the user, let's say the cancellation policy, right? So 10 days in advance, or blah, blah, blah. Then the price for adult, the price for teen, and the price for a kid, right? And then you can also specify a different price for the cancellation, right? So you would say this is if you buy the non-cancellation, you say plan, and this is if you buy the actual option to cancel, right? Then you can specify the minimum stay, 1, 2, 3 days, the maximum stay, okay. Then you can specify a buffer between reservations, right? So you could say, okay, you reserve, and then for 2 days the apartment is not available. And then you can specify a buffer from today, in a sense that you can say you can book an apartment today, or you need to have at least 7 days, right? Given all this, right? So given all this setup, you get this, right? So you get basically oh yes, I can't show you too much because I'm actually working on this, but basically you will get a check-in, check-out, and then you will get how many people you see that you have maximum. Then you will say other two, and then if you try to add one more, it will tell you no, that's too much. And then you can say the no cancellation, or the 10 days cancellation. Obviously all this can be customizable. And then when you send your form, and let me show you this, and let me show you a little bit also what we do usually in the back end. If zero, all right. So, all right. So we're gonna skip this. All right. So you see here that first of all it starts from the 28th, because we said we wanted a 7 days buffer period from now. And then the minimum stay is 3 days, right? So the first available checkout date is the 31st. Then you say 2 adults, 2 teens, and then you say that the system already tells you there are total 4 people, total nice 3, total price, and then 1 kid. No, that's too much because we have maximum 4 people. And then no cancellation, $900, 10 days cancellation. So the cancellation, 990, right? And then so no cancellation, all right. And then now you would be ready to pay. Now, if we try to do another reservation, you will see, well, it's not confirmed, right? But then you can go ahead and book other dates. Now, this is the thing that we're going to check, in a sense that we will make sure that you cannot keep booking without, if you have an open reservation, right? Okay. And then if you go here, obviously the owner will see the because you will see the reservations, right? Okay. Already here. Then when it clicks here, you will actually see the reservation details, and blah blah blah, right? So the idea is that, again, you manage your own reservation system for your apartment. All right. Yeah. So that's what the yeah. Um, Chris, okay, no, Jay, no, just today. We just changed it for today. So the next week is going to be, let's say, 1 hour before the hour of today, right?
Sorry, I
Yeah,
had to
we're
do a
gonna go
bathroom
back.
break there.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to the usual time. Well, one reservation widget per property. Yes, you can, as usual, you can have all of the all the widgets that you have in the same page in separate pages. So if you have more properties, you can have one page for each property, one widget for each property, and manage all of your properties all in one place. As usual, there's the usual flexibility that you have with Mobi First, right? Thank you, Vinod, and thank you, Al, for I hope you will like it when it will be ready. Again, as you have seen, it's like a I mean, it's like showing you the half baked cake that we're gonna prepare. Just also showing you how the process works and how we do stuff in the back end and what we are working on. The other thing, just to close everything, the other thing that we are working on is the CSS course, right? I hope that it will be ready by the next webinar, or will be buyable by the next webinar. Maybe yes, maybe not. We'll see. But it is in the making, so that's a top priority since you all asked for it, and I'm sure that you will find a lot of value in it. So yeah, that's gonna be, let's say, something that I'll be very happy um, to release as soon as possible. Oh yes, Omar. As soon as we release new widgets, we will usually always do accompanying
Yes.
tutorials so that they are easy to use, easy to to understand, and easy to immediately implement in your website. All right,
Awesome.
right. So if there are no more questions, thank you as
No,
usual.
no. One last thing. Obviously, if I'm the only one who learned something on this one, I don't believe that I am. I learned again. So great. Thank you again, Silvio. Everybody, too, if you want to scroll to the very top of the chat, you will see the registration link for next week's webinar. And it's back to the normal time. That was a little mix up on my end. And then lastly, you'll also see that our White Label Academy release is this Thursday. So if you're interested in owning the Academy platform, please register for that one too as well. Should be a pretty exciting event. And besides that, great questions. Please make sure the couple of you that submitted something and we asked you to submit a support ticket, please do that now. So also you don't forget and we don't forget on our end. And I think also excited about the new, Airbnb and everything like that too as well. That's a killer feature, right? So
Yeah, I
it is
think so.
it's an awesome one.
It's
So
one of the many killer features that we have.
oh yes, yeah. You add this one with the other ones, it's like come on, and then
Yeah,
you add us helping everybody out as much as you want. All right, we're set for success here. So thanks everybody. Thanks
yeah.
Silvio. Have
Thank you
yourself
all.
a good week, and we'll see some of you on Thursday.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.